Hey there, boys and girls of the YouTube world. Today, the Duff Dog and I are gonna get a 1960 Plymouth station wagon running. I don't know what model it is, and I said we're gonna get it running, but I hope we do. I bought this thing at an auction a few years ago in northeast South Dakota on an online auction. I think I paid like $3,600 for it. I paid way too much money, but that's the thing with an auction, you pay full retail a lot of the time, so it should be worth $35.50 because that's what the other person did. But anyway, price and availability in the video description, in the condition at the end of this video. Let's jump into this thing. We just got done doing an Imperial. There's our 56 that doesn't get enough love. But anyway, I think I've had this thing almost 2 years. Duff, we're not working on the 61 flat top. Let's pump up the tire and get this thing inside because it's cold. There's a foot of snow out here. There's a car under there. Believe it or not. You gonna hook the chain up, Duff? Oh, you're looking at 58 W blocks, fridges. All right, it's cold out. I think it's the high today was -4. So we're running out of daylight. It's cold. Let's pump up a tire, get a chain hooked up. Let's do this. I wanna go back to New Orleans. So much humidity, but it's a lot warmer. Let's hope this goes smooth or we'll have to go see if Bernie will fire up. Oh yeah, she ain't froze down. That's one of the big reasons I like having tires that are pumped up, because they don't freeze into the ground that way. Which, when you live in the frozen tundra, is a thing. We're gonna get her up this hill. The old Bobcat just ain't got the traction that Bernie does. Ugh, we're fudged. Son of a biscuit. Should have just used Bernie in the first place. We'll rehook, but we're going uphill. Here we go. Come on, baby. Oh, yeah. If I just had somebody to steer. Don't roll downhill on me now. Might have rolled a little better if somebody put air in that tire. Somebody was just giving me grief in an old video about, why don't you brush the snow off that car? I got a leaf blower. I don't think I've ever used for blowing leaves. I think it's gonna be too hard, but we can always brush it off by hand. You don't need thumbs to dig that snow off. Don't give me that excuse. Pump that tire up while we're waiting. We should be sponsored by Milwaukee. It works as expected. Works good on the light, fluffy stuff, which this stuff got hard. I don't think a rake would work very well, but let's try a broom. We're out of sunlight, but the days are getting longer. It's 6 o'clock, you can still see your hands out there. Anyway, furnace is blaring, trying to catch up. We're gonna let this thing thaw out. We'll catch you guys tomorrow. And there's gonna be a whole lot less snow on this thing, but the lichens will still be there. Man, these things are cool. See ya tomorrow. All right, let's take a quick look at this forward look Mopar now that she's all thawed out. So like I said, this is a 60 model. So this is pretty much the end of the forward look. This thing's been sitting in the yard, so I've been looking at it a little bit for the last couple of years. This door is way more rotten than the rest of the car. I don't know if it was swapped out or something happened there. Little whammy in the dog leg of the passenger fender. Got them cool ribs running the entire length of the roof. Nice stainless spear running the entire length of the roof as well. Got these cool body lines running down the C-pillar. And then some of the biggest fins you ever seen. 57 Chevys would be jealous. Got these 3 chrome spears going down the quarter panel. Got the old fridge door handles. It even opens. Needs a little work on the old return spring. Even the door handles and door panels are awesome. Look at that tri-tone door panel. She was a sweet unit in her day. Wonder how rusty the floors are gonna be. He did say the glass is in the tailgate, and it appears as he was not lying. Got the steps on the bumper to get in the 3rd row. Got the rubber bumpers on the tailgate. That sexy Plymouth script. Oh yeah, just the coolest. Check them taillights out. The old hood and hood hinge are a little kinky, and not the kinky we like. Even the wiper valance is aluminum. I always thought it was strange how they put the rear view mirrors on the dash instead of the windshield like everybody else. Got that bumper card, it looks like it's factory. Even got a splash of little gold in the grill. Hood's got a couple of whammies in her. Check out that rocket ship looking rear view mirror. Driver's side's got a lot more paint for some reason. Must have been the way it was parked. Probably was in the shade. They even hid the fuel cap in the left rear quarter here. Wonder what those screws are for, some type of antenna or deflector? There it is, the old push button transmission. I guess you either got a 3 on the tree or a push button on these things. There was no column shifted automatic. Those dashes are wild. Looks like the Speedo is similar to our 1966 Imperial. Check that Speedo out though on the ice. No FM radio though. Looks like all we had for gauges was a fuel gauge and a temp gauge. Seat foam's even mostly there. We interrupt your regular scheduled shenanigans to bring you some information about Virgil Exner. That's right, the man, the myth, the legend, the leader of the forward look design movement, or the future on wheels between 1955 and 1973 at Mopar Design Department. Virgil Exner was born in 1909 in Ann Arbor, Michigan. He was adopted by George and Iva Exner as a baby. He attended Notre Dame for 2 years where he had to drop out due to financial issues. He then worked for an art studio where he was drawing advertisements for Studebaker trucks, and this is where he was noticed by Harley Earl. At this time, he did some design work on the 1937 through 1939 Pontiac styling, and in 1944, he was hired directly by Studebaker in South Bend, Indiana. This time he made one of his first big hits in the automotive industry, the 1947 Studebaker Starlight Coupe, otherwise known as the first by far post-war car. Chrysler had kind of been slipping their clutch through the late 30s and 40s after the giant failure of the airflow design in 1934. In 1949, Virgil Exner went to Chrysler where he worked on some concept and show cars. Built by Ghia, remember that later. Some of these cars include the Chrysler d'Elegance, the 1952 Chrysler K310, the Dodge Fire Arrow, and the 1957 Diablo. Now here's where the forward look part comes into play. Virgil saw the 1949 Cadillac tail fins, and the rest is history. He lowered the roof lines for a sleeker, smoother look, and also lowered the floor via the use of torsion bars. The 1955 Chrysler was dubbed the new $100 million look. Also, the 1957 Imperial was the first to use a compound curved glass. My favorite forward look car is the 1959 Dodge Coronet. Station wagons are also acceptable as well, but they're all good looking cars, but 59 was probably the peak year for all automotive design, forward look included. So Virgil maybe took the fins a little bit further than they needed to go, and he was fired after the 1962 model year failure. He was replaced by Elwood Ingle. Elwood was the designer of the 1961 Lincoln Continental, the 1966 Chrysler Imperial, and the 1958 Ford T-Bird. Now back to Ghia. In 1955, Volkswagen announced the release of the 1955 Karmann Ghia. While they copied Virgil Exner's design, he considered it the ultimate form of flattery. There you have it. All that you wanted to know about the forward look Mopar design and Virgil Exner, the man, the myth, the legend. Now back to your regular scheduled shenanigans. You gonna open the hood or you want me to do it? Oh, you're taking the day off? All right. Grab that side of the hood. Looks like somebody already got the radiator. Same person probably got the generator. They left us the coil. Oh, check out them red spark plug wires. The driver's side was facing the sun and the spark plug wires are all faded though. No power brakes, no power steering, no battery, no air cleaner. Oh, look at all that poop in there. Oh, this is not looking good, kids. Of course it's seized up. Got the old Carter 2-barrel on her with automatic choke. I believe this is the Poly engine. Not sure on the displacement. Because I don't know a ton about polys, I don't know the displacement. We'll have to do a little digging. First thing I think we're gonna do, judging by the no air cleaner and the way the hood was up, we're gonna pull some spark plugs and we're gonna view down inside the cylinders and see what's going on in there. We'll get the schlong out and ram it down their throat and see what it looks like. I was hoping this was gonna be an easy one, and I need to stop doing that because they're never easy when I hope they are. The good news is the spark plugs are way more accessible than the 440 in our 1966 Imperial. All right, let's definitely try not to mix those up because I'm sure you can't find the firing order on the internet for a Poly. What a great nickname for an engine, the Poly. Wow, is it a nickname? Polyspherical combustion chamber, much like the Hemi, is a hemispherical combustion chamber. And Hemi heads will bolt onto a Poly. So I guess if we're in there taking the heads off, we might as well convert it to a Hemi. We're not gonna take the heads off. Nope. Let's blow the dirt out around the spark plugs before we pull them out. Please don't be over full on the dipstick. Please don't be rusted off. Well, it's not over full, and it looks like oil, so I'll take that as a win. Oh boy. That's a lot of dirt. Size of these bad boys, 13/16. Yep. Size 3/8 impact, I think so. I like that. I like seeing carbon instead of rust. Some good old Champion J14Ys. That one's a little green, but I'd rather see green than rust. That right there is the rustiest one I've seen, and that is not terrible. Got the schlong out. Let's ram her down some dry holes, see what happens. Well, doesn't look terrible. Definitely a little dry. How about the next one? Same deal. It's dry in there. Not like oily, wet like you like to see, I guess, but I don't see a big old pile of rust or debris or valve heads. Same deal in here. There's a little corrosion on top of the piston, but not a bunch of rust. Oofta. That one's, she's a little white and crusty. Oh yeah. A little rust on the cylinder walls. That one's gonna give us grief, I think. Right? Right. Wonder if we stick the blowgun in there, we can blow some of that. Ooh. That's pieces of piston up top there coming off, ain't it? Ain't it? Yucky. See, I don't care what you put in there. It's Marvel, diesel, ATF. You're not going to dissolve all that stuff. You got to get that stuff out of there. We need air or vacuum or something to get that crap out of there, or to ram it out the exhaust of the intake valve. Let's try some air, see what happens. See if we stirred it up at least. Oh yeah, got white stuff floating around in there like it's a ditty party. Actually, there's still some built up at the bottom side. That's the rust. The rust is heavier than aluminum. There it is. You'd see she's not looking so hot. Well, this should be fun. Can't wait to see the comments down below. Put a XYZ on the end of your vacuum cleaner, you know. Put a brake line at the end or a vacuum line. Yeah, well, that's going to plug up immediately with that crap, and we'll be there forever. Bob's here. Give Duff treats. And he knows it. Hopefully this side looks better. If we got to deal with 2 or 3 like that, our chances of success drop off significantly.
We suck again!
Ooh. A lot of corrosion. Can't really see a bunch of buildup at the bottom, though. That one's pretty good. We should shoot a little air in all of them. Try to get what's in there out anyway. When they're up at the top, that's usually a good sign because that means your valves are closed. I suppose your exhaust could be open pushing it out, but usually when they're up, it's a good sign. Obviously, they can't all be up. These all look pretty decent over here. I don't see a bunch of crap in there. Get that girl you dated in high school and suck start it. Okay, let's use our muddy vac, suck some Marvel out of the jug, shoot them down the cylinders, and we'll lift this thing up in the air and take a look at the bottom side where we're letting the Marvel do marvelous things to the inside of those cylinders. Using the oil crankcase to enhance lubrication. I do believe the poly engines have a rocker shaft set up on them, so let's pull some valve covers, see how it looks under there, and maybe just pop that rocker assembly off. That way, if that's stuck, we know we got more issues, and we can see if all the valves are stuck, so we can snap those off if we got to. My favorite pastime, snapping off valves. Ooh. It's always good when chunks of your valve cover stay in there. Just kidding, it's only Pennzoil buildup. It actually looks pretty good in there. It's oily, which is better than rusty. So right here are your adjuster screws for setting your lash on your valves, on your intakes and your exhaust. And these bolts here serve double duty as your head bolts, and they also are the bolts that hold your rocker assemblies down Let's take those 5 bolts loose and pop this off there and see what our valves are doing. Usually that just pops right out of there, but not in this case. Oh, did we forget something? Let's blow some of the rust and crap that's out of there as well. I've never had to pry these off before. Usually the valves just push them right up. Did we forget bolts? Let's give her a little tap, tap, taparoo.
Give it a little tappy. Tap, tap, taparoo.
Cheese and rice. Guess we're gonna just try a bigger bar. Good grief, Charlie Brown.
Good grief.
Well, let's see if some valves are loose. That's loose. 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 Stuck. Loose. Stuck. Stuck. Don't have a ton of poly parts around, so I really want this rocker arm shaft to come off in one piece. So if you're screaming at me, why are you doing this? Well, we already found that one valve is stuck. And I've noticed on a lot of these shaft style valve trains, they'll get stuck, the rockers that is, to the shaft, and then that'll cause you to bend push rods, valves, all that stuff. So we're taking it apart. This will make it turn over easier because none of the valves could possibly hit the pistons, and we can also check to see that we don't have any valves that are stuck. And then we're not putting any added stress on anything. We're just taking it apart and checking it out. There you go. It's pretty common on these style engines like early Cadillacs, I think like 318, 316, what the LA Mopars have them. I think even 302s, 289s, maybe. Oh, 360s, 390s, they have them as well. Hemis too. We should do a Hemi. Comment down below if you want to see us do an early Hemi. Yeah, that exhaust valve stuck real bad. Also, the rocker shaft is stuck. Maybe it's not the valve. Oh yeah, it's definitely the valve. Rocker shaft went back, valve did not. Sounds like a lot of people have problems removing this valve train on the internet. I'm doing some research and I'm not finding many answers. I'm finding a lot of people asking the question though. You Mopar people need to be more helpful to your Mopar fellow car enthusiasts on the internet, you know? Put that answer out there. Son of a gun should just pop off there, huh? They're cast right onto it, ain't they? For dumb. You gotta slide that whole thing out of there. Well, that's silly. I thought I saw a casting line, but there's little notches that they machined in there for clearance that looks like the casting line, though, or the brake line. Glad I didn't get a bigger hammer. Well, I guess we can put these back in there. Maybe we'll just leave them loose for a bit in case we gotta pull that cylinder head off. She's still stuck. Fixed it. I guess let's go check out the other side. I do believe the passenger side looks even better than the driver's side. How many stuck valves on this side? Pretty neat staggered valve design. The intakes are up here by the intake and the exhausts are down here by the exhaust instead of being all in line like a small block Chevy is. Well, that Marvel's doing marvelous things with those cylinder walls and pistons and piston rings, basically rebuilding that engine from the inside out. Let's lift her up in the air and take a look at the bottom side of this 1960 Plymouth station wagon. Going up. Let's take a look at the bottom of this bad mamma jamma, shall we? The old front bumper balance has seen better days. Not much for exhaust going on here. That's pretty much where she ends. I think we could just as well cut that right off there. It ain't doing much but plugging up what's there. Ooh, a canister style oil filter. The oil pan's not rusted out at least. Oh, look at that. They got a spring in the transmission mount. Typical Mopar. It's got the torsion bar front suspension. Quite a bit different design than we saw in that 1966 Imperial recently. So if you're not aware what a torsion bar suspension, this is the lower control arm. It's got this rod that goes back to here. That's your torsion bar. How bad are the floors? A little soft, real soft. Got a few holes. What? These are a unibody car? Frame stops right there. Wild. These definitely aren't the worst floors we've ever seen, but they need some patching. And here's where the rear subframe starts. Leaf spring rear suspension. They cut these brakes? Yep. Cut them all. Oh well. If somebody's gonna fix this car up, they're gonna put different brakes and rear end and all that stuff anyway. Speaking of rear ends, I don't know what this is, but it's got an open drive line. I always thought these things were cool because they got the park brake built right into the transmission. And this is their slip yoke. No park brake cables back here to worry about. Well, there is the third row seats. Unfortunately, we're looking at it from the bottom. Gonna need some floor work back here. There's the fuel tank tucked up in the corner. Hopefully that's in good shape because I'm sure that's unobtainium. Limited slip? Nope. Son of a biscuit. Floors are rough, but other than a little crack, the quarter panel seems good. The rockers are good. And that's what you want to see on a unibody car because that is structure right there. Really solid on this side as well. Oh yeah, just get DD Speed Shop to cobble some floors in this thing and you'll be good to go. Pretty impressive. I mean, let's be honest here. But I think she's worth it. Oh, let's see. Has this thing got a flywheel we can get at? Ooh, she's got an inspection cover. We can take that off, chase the mice out. Hopefully we can pry on the old flex plate and get this thing turning over. Let's pop these bad boys out and see what we got going on. At least the mice ain't rotted it out yet. So many firsts for the channel. First push button and first poly. Mouse house or no? Holy buckets, it's a Valentine's Day miracle. No mouse house. There must not be any access to get in there because surely the mice were well aware of this car. Definitely had easy access to the floor pans. Oh yeah, they left all their crap in the Carter carburetor up top. Oh. Icky. Let's see what old El Jefe can do here. Come on, baby. Oh. Guess I should have been letting it soak for 2 years. That would have made a difference. Put it down in the comments. Oh. She's stuck. That's one thing when we deal with a stuck engine, we don't just give up or let it soak or whatever. We tear them apart and we try real hard to get them turning before we tear them apart. But check this out. No harmonic balancer on this bad boy. I don't even know what we'd bolt to make it turn tool to. Just one big bolt going through that pulley, so there must be a keyway built into it. Interesting. Also, water pump's locked up. Because why wouldn't it be? All right, I'm gonna try putting my bar here by the nose cone of the starter, see if we can get a little bit more leverage. Break the nose cone on the starter, that would really make my day. Oh, not going. Not gonna happen. All right, it's lunchtime. Let's let it soak for a while and see what happens. I'm sure it'll spin over with the starter just freely by hand. All the goodness when we come back from lunch. Yeah, right. So the Marvel had plenty of time to sit and do its thing while I had my peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Let's see what happens. It's just gonna spin right over. Right? Wrong. Well, let's get the biggest bar I own out, see what happens.
If you just soak the engine and yada yada yada, it'll turn right over.
Lies. These are all lies they tell you on the internet. Oh! Haha! That is a new one. I got the ring gear to turn, but it's spinning on the flex plate, or whatever Mopar calls these things, because they don't have a regular flex plate. It's all part of the torque converter. This is a new one. Ring gears are pressed onto flywheels. Usually on most flex plates, they're welded on. This one's pressed on because Mopar things. Just to show you what I'm talking about, we will mark the ring gear and the torque converter. There you go, nice little mark. Now watch as I magically move this mark without moving that one. I'm so excited for a second. And I realized what I had done. There you have it. That's a new one. Just when you think you'd seen everything and spun everything over and seized everything and tried everything, something new comes. I hear you loud and clear. I hear you loud and clear. The next thing to do is get the welder out and weld that ring gear right onto that flex plate. And then when it doesn't spin, we'll have to tear the engine all apart, but at least we're gonna try it. Let's see if we can't break my welds. Not moving. I don't know what this thing's deal is. It's only been sitting for 57 years. Oh. Well, it's got an awful big nut on the crankshaft, so let's put a socket on that in our big boy bar and maybe extension and see what happens. I suppose it is 1.5 inches, too big, 1.25 inches, just right.
Is just right.
Want to bet the bolt just tightens? Or loosens if you turn it the wrong way? We're just gonna ruin a crankshaft. We keep doing that. Just tightening the bolt. You know, before we go any further, we should see if that push button transmission actually pushes my buttons. So I believe all those buttons are hooked up to a cable or cables and runs through this cable and shifts her back and forth. Let's let her down and see if the buttons do shifting things. Oh, she's a tight squeeze. We got this. Oh, it's even got the Plymouth logo on it, emblem, rocket ship, Starliner, boat. Ugh, steering wheel's kind of lame, but that cluster is freaking sweet. 89,668 miles. 120. I don't know if the old Polly would do that. Mojo might know. He's putting hydraulic oil in the rollback. The extension cylinder for the old Stinger for toting cars and hooking up trailers is leaking, so he overhauled her. She's back in action. Man, these things had cool buttons. Radio had cool buttons. The HVAC had cool buttons. The shifters got buttons. Uh-oh. I thought when you pushed one, another one was supposed to come out. Well, these are the cars where you pushed the neutral all the way in to crank it over or something. There we go. We gotta get her all the way in. Then when you push neutral, they should all be out. The good news is, that seems like it's working. Push reverse, neutral pops out. Now if we push drive, the reverse should pop out. Now if we push low, the drive should pop out. Push drive, low should pop out. I think they're working the way they should. You'll notice there's no button for park. So I'm guessing you had to use the park brake, or if when you push neutral in all the way, it would go into park. I don't know. But I heard rumors about there's one of these where you'd push one to push it in park, but if you push it too far, the starter would engage. I don't know. Seems like a lot of companies tried the push button. Edsel had the Teletouch, which was in the steering wheel. Those are pretty neat. These things always had the coolest pedals, though. I don't know why, but I think those things are freaking sweet. Like tentacles on an octopus. Even the park brakes got them. How about the HVAC buttons? Ooh, they're not as happy. Radio? Oh yeah, still slides around. What's in the glove box? Mouse House City, no doubt. Dean Maloff, Eureka. It's even got the delivery date, January 1960. Aberdeen Motors, 215 South Lincoln Street, Aberdeen, South Dakota. So Dean would have been the original owner of this thing. So I did a little research on old Dean Maloff. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, but he was born in 1927 in South Dakota, and he passed away in 2016. He was an elected official of the House of Representatives from 1967 through 1976, also in South Dakota. He joined the Army in 1946. He had 2 wives, Donna F. and Donna L. So he really liked Donna's. He also had 11 children, so the old 1960 Plymouth station wagon was definitely used for hauling kids around the countryside. He also played first base on the Eureka, South Dakota Cardinal baseball team, where he had the highest batting average of anybody in the state of South Dakota at the time. He was also a motorcycle enthusiast. At the age of 83, he rode his motorcycle 6,000 miles down the US Route 66. So there you go, a bunch of information about Dean Maloff, the original owner of this 1960 Plymouth station wagon. I don't think there's gonna be anything else in the glove box because the glove box is gone. Is that the fleur de lis? The only reason I know that is because I was in New Orleans earlier this week, and I'm probably mispronouncing that because my French is not so wee. We'll put that back in there so everybody knows that Dean was the original owner, the OG. Got it. Ooh. Yep. We're just gonna stay out of there. I don't know that there's much else to see in here, kids. Not a whole lot here, pretty well cleaned out. Not even a ton of rubbish or raccoon poop or nothing. So unfortunately for me, it seems like that shifter is doing shifter things. So we should probably mess around with that engine a little bit. I didn't want to mess with that Polly. Maybe Polly will be a cooperative girl, so let's see what happens. Well, let's get after this thing. Let's cut the exhaust off first, because when we pull the heads off, we're gonna need to unhook the exhaust. So much crap in here. Should we drain the oil for S's and G's just to see what it looks like? See how much water's in it? May as well. I think I know why they call it Marvel, because it smells marvelous.
Marvelous!
15/16? Nope. 1 inch. Got it. Oh yeah. A little bit of water, not bad. Just freaking jump out of there already. Got it. Looks pretty thin. There's a little bit of water in the bottom, but not bad. We gotta start draining these when we bring them in from the outside and it's still below freezing. Then we can pull the plug out and watch no oil come on because there's a big old blob of ice in front of the drain plug. That'd be pretty neat to see. All right, let's set some valve covers back on her and give this thing a blow job and clean her all off and start ripping into it. But yeah, we wanna cover up that nice, freshly overhauled valve train. No, it's not overhauled. But anyway, let's try to keep as much debris out of the engine as we can, because who knows, maybe it's like brand new inside. Quick, easy way to identify Polys. They got these little squigglies down here at the bottom. Obviously, Hemi's got spark plug holes in the center. LA style engines are straight. The more you know. We won't even talk about 383s and 440s because I know even less about those. If it weren't negative 17 degrees out, I'd probably pressure wash this thing. But it's cold out. So here we go. I think I'm gonna do a little heater hose delete before we even get started. Ooh, I don't know if that was coolant in there, but it was something that's now liquid. Got my 4-foot Wonder Wand here that I picked up at a swap meet in Iola years ago. This thing's handy because you can blow from a distance so you don't have to breathe it all in. You still get most of it, but you don't have to breathe it all in. Oh, what needs some Croil while we're out here? Good news is I don't think we have to pull the exhaust manifolds off like we did on that 289 and that Cougar in order to get the heads off. You gotta pull the manifolds off to get the head bolts out? Frickin' Ford. That little cast iron 2-barrel intake does not look light. Let's see if we get her cracked loose. Which will be followed by cracking all of my vertebrae. These designers need to put somewhere where you just can sneak a pry bar in to pry these things up. Here we go. There. Oh boy, that does not look good. I'm seeing some things. I'm seeing a trip to the liquor store in my future. There's a lot of rust in there, eh? That's also an extremely bent push rod. But wait, there's more.
But wait, there's more.
I can see why that intake was super heavy, not because it was cast iron. Look at how wide it is. It's freaking huge. Nice part about these though is you don't have to mess with the distributor, just leave her in place. So I don't know if water in the cylinders and that valve was open. I bet that's what it is. I bet the intake was open. Water got in the cylinders and then expanded, pushed up against the intake valve, bent those push rods. What do you think? Or do you think Dean was hot rodding her when they parked it in 1968? It's only 57 years ago. It should be fine. Let's get the vacuum cleaner out, and we'll go from there. This next part of the show is really gonna suck. Ah, who am I kidding? The whole show sucks. She looks a lot better, but it don't look good. I'm sure all the rust on the camshaft isn't a big deal, right? Also, that lifter isn't even touching the camshaft. That one is, though. Oh, look at the distributor and the cam gear. Ugh, gross. Bad things are about to happen, kids. I'm sure it'll be fine. Let's pull some head bolts out. See what happens. Can't get any worse, right? What is that? Oh, it says this car's okay. It's also number 2. It's an okay piece of crap, apparently. Comment down below if you know what that marking's for. Was it built in Oklahoma City? Oklahoma? We may never know. It must be there. I saw it come up. Must be just enough pressure on the valve springs. Oh, we're gonna have a nice, marvelous puddle down there, I got a feeling. We should have our Mortske repair fender cover out for this. See, the cylinders don't look that bad in there, other than the fact that they're full of marble. And check this out. Stuck valve? Nope. Bent valve? Nope. Look like it got hit by a piston? Nope. That was one of the bent push rod. The bigger valve there is the intake, and that looks in good shape. All of them look to be in goodish shape. We have definitely seen worse. Let's rip into the other side. HVAC box strikes again. We interrupt your regular scheduled shenanigans to bring you this Mortske Minute on the A-block platform, also known as the Poly, from 1956 through 1967 on Plymouth, Chrysler, and Dodge cars. However, it was never available in the Imperial or DeSotos. It ranged in cubic inches all the way from 277 and the largest at 326 cubic inches. They were built in the Windsor, Ontario and Detroit Mount Road engine plants. They came to be because they were cheaper than a Hemi to produce and maintain, and they are a slight spin-off of the Chrysler and Dodge Poly head, also known as the semi-Hemi, that was previously produced. However, the A-block does not interchange with the semi-Hemi or Poly head. A lot of this information came from Dead Dodge Garage. Go ahead and check him out on Instagram. The straight across airflow was due to the valves being at an angle and a canted valve. It's a similar design to the big block Chevy, and also leads to the way that the valve covers are designed on the bottom. That's the easiest way for me to identify a Poly or A-block, is the way the valve cover's got the ribs on the bottom of the block. There's not many aftermarket performance parts made. However, they did offer factory dual quads in the 1957 Plymouth Fury. This 318 produced 290 horsepower. You might upset some Mopar enthusiasts by calling it a wide block 318, when in fact, the block dimensions are the same as a 318 LA block, so tread lightly. However, with heads installed and valve covers, they might be a little bit wider. All A blocks had solid lifters except the Red Ram 326, which was a 255 horsepower, 350 foot-pound of torque, and this was the only A-block ever optioned with hydraulic lifters. Other factory performance versions were the Fury V800, which was standard in 57 and 58 Furies at 290 horsepower and 330 foot-pounds of torque, and the Super Pack, which was a single 4-barrel coming in at 250 horsepower and 340 foot-pounds of torque. They're not known for their performance, but they were quite economical. In a 1,600-mile road course, they clocked 21 miles to the gallon. And there you have it, everything you never wanted to know about the Chrysler A-block or A-platform or Poly or wide block. Now back to your regular scheduled shenanigans. Well, there you have it, folks. 2 bent push rods. We still don't know what the culprit is. We got one that's stuck in the head. I presume that's just sludge that it's stuck in there. But this here is the intake valve on the passenger side of the bent push rod. And you can see that thing is hating its life real bad right now. I would heed to say that it's probably stuck closed. That's a lot of rust. The other 7 don't look so bad. We'll have a running in the morning when you come back. You think you can chuck that up on your lathe and straighten it out for us?
You can straighten it on an anvil, just like you would straighten out a nail.
Just like how you straighten out a nail.
Yep. Pounder straight.
All right. I never got to use an anvil to straighten a nail. I just had to bang it on the dirt. Remember, Mojo, just because you're different doesn't mean you're useful.
Oh,
You better get home before Mrs. Mojo comes looking for you.
yes. Valentine's too on Friday. And
Oh, you better go pick up some chocolates and some flowers. That's the key to 51 years of marriage, huh?
yep, that's it.
All right, we'll see you tomorrow. You better save our steel head gasket, though. I suppose we're gonna pull the filter out of the sucker machine and see what we can find in there. We got a mystery mess going on the floor down there, too. Got the floor dry out, ready for it. Well, we're gonna make this thing run, Duff. We better address this valve. So let's dig into it. Literally, dig the rust. Oh no. Oh no. There's no valve left after that. I mean, it's left, but it's no longer attached. What is with these Plymouth station wagons and valves breaking off? Well, that's gonna end the day here at Mortske Repair. It's not looking good, kids. Let's tap on the backside and see what happens. Oh, she's stuck. Imagine that. Not even budging. Not looking good for the home team, kids. Still don't understand why this push rod won't come out of here. Can't imagine there's a bunch of rust buildup in there, preventing it from sliding out. Back to my statements earlier about soaking engines. How much soaking are you gonna do to get that to come loose? It's not. And no amount of me soaking it for 2 years. You probably go back to 1970, and if they'd have soaked it then, it would have been fine because we wouldn't have got it all rusty. But soaking an engine isn't gonna fix that, unfortunately. This thing needs to be all blown apart, needs a valve job, needs new valves. It's gonna need rings, needs all that. We could mess around with it and get it running on 7, but I really don't see the advantage. We still don't have a radiator, we still don't have a transmission cooler. We're gonna need radiator hoses, all that stuff. And the bottom end of that engine is probably in pretty rough shape. Looks like the distributor's rusted in there and it's rusted to the camshaft and the lifters are all bad. So that engine just needs to come apart. We're not gonna do it any good by getting it loose and getting it running. That thing's, there's gonna be metal shavings and rust everywhere and it's gonna be not good. It's too early to drink. It's negative 26 degrees. So I'm not real excited about that. The furnace is gonna be blasting all day long. I'm not sure what we should do here. I'll have to consult with the powers that be, Mojo and Chin and Duff, and see what we think we're gonna do here. But I can't even get this valve to pop up. Let me tap on one of these other ones. I'll show you what they're supposed to do. Let's do this guy back here. That's what a valve should do, not a solid thud like this one. If I keep hitting it, we're just gonna bend up the rocker arm, and we don't want to do that. Let's see if we can get that valve out of there first. Let's see just how bad it is. Well, that wasn't so bad. We got the keepers out of there, and we got the valve spring out, so now we just gotta get the valve out. Not looking good. Hasn't even budged. I'm sure it's rusted in around the stem, much like it's rusty everywhere. Let's keep going, see what happens. It's a big hammer, and I'm hitting it about as hard as I feel comfortable. Yeah, that thing's not coming out of there, and even if it did come out of there, I don't have another one, and it's gonna need new everything. It's gonna need new guides, it's gonna need new seats, all that stuff. So, I just wanted to get it out of there to look at it. Still got the umbrella. It's pretty stiff, but it's flexible yet. Now she's gonna go. Or not. Let's see what happens. Oh boy, it moved. Something. You guys saw that go down, right? Well, the head is still kind of there, so I don't know if the stem disintegrated or what. Let's keep going. This is fun. There we go, we're making progress. It's not good. Check this out though. The valve's barely sticking through now. Well, the stem, I mean. The valve head is non-existent. It's many pieces. It got Humpty Dumpty. Let's grab a punch and knock that stem the rest of the way out of the guide. You mean it's not gonna slide right out? Ouch, that's my thumb. All right, we're gonna throw this thing back together. Let me show you one quick thing that's kind of neat about these engines. So they got kind of a cross flow design. So your exhaust port is here, your intake port is here, and the air just kind of goes straight across. So that's what's pretty neat about them. The reason that other engines like small block Chevys are like this, the valves are like that, is because manufacturing. So this way, they have to drill it at an angle like that, and then they have to drill at an angle like that. And not only, you know, if they were all at an angle like this, you could punch them across, but then you got to reset it up. You know, manufacturing things. These were a lot more expensive to manufacture than a small block Chevy, and they do flow pretty well, I would imagine. According to the internet, they flow okay. There's a couple guys who have built these polys up. But anyway, we're gonna throw this thing back together. That way the engine doesn't get any worse. I don't have parts laying around. Parts don't get lost for the next guy. They actually go together really quick. It didn't take very long to rip it apart, so it should go back together real quick. And obviously we're not gonna put the push rods back in there. We're not gonna clean it up and put new gaskets in it. We're just hucking her together. We're not torquing nothing down. So it should go pretty quick. Here we go. It'll go real quick with some chin editing. I bet it'd go twice as fast if there's two of us. There you have it, about 15 minutes at her slam back together. Goes real fast when you got two of you going, so. All right, let's set the hood on. Let's lift her up and we'll throw that inspection cover back on there, and that's pretty much gonna do it for this thing, I think. Sad, so sad. Wonder if we can get those hood hinges to go down. You can see pulled right out of the hood there, so not good. At least if we knock these hood hinges down, the hood won't look so silly. And that's probably how some of the water got in the engine, from the hood being cracked open. So, kids, don't mess with trunks and doors and hoods unless you're buying the car, or at least get it closed properly. Bring some WD-40 with you when you go to the junkyard. Let's not scratch that windshield. It's probably expensive and also probably already broken. Oh, that looks way better than the hood being kinked up like it had been for the last who knows how many years. Better get some pictures for the Facebook Marketplace listing. Price and availability in the video description if you want to own this thing. Definitely losing money on this one. This left rear was going flat real fast. Found a nail in it, so pulled that out, stuck a tube in it. Should be plenty good for you when you come buy this thing. Let's take a look at these brakes and the axle situation. You can see the drums are stuck, so somebody torched her out, which is what I've been known to do. But these got the tapered axle in, so you got to take this nut off and the cotter key first, obviously. Then you got to get a puller. You pop this whole son of a gun off, and there's basically just one keyway on there that holds it. Mopar used this 1930s technology well into the 60s, actually. And then left-hand thread on these things also. So more worthless information. The old tapered axle on the Mopars. I think it's B-body Mopars. 8 3/4, pretty much bolt right in. That's what we did on the Mopar Madman's 1959 Plymouth Suburban Wagon. So I think Chelsea is what we have affectionately named this thing. It's Christine's thick sister. I was gonna say go harass him, but he doesn't have a YouTube channel, so we need to get that thing going and go on a road trip with it. 1959, so last year of the flathead inline 6. It's got a 3-speed overdrive. It's got, I think, 410 gears in the B body rear end that we stuck in it. But anyway, I think he's got disc brakes for the front that's got to be put on it, and yeah, new radiator in it. Cheech and Chong would be impressed. Did some wiring to it. Boom tube did new exhaust, had new tires. Pretty much should be good to go. Oh, he said it had some valve sticking issues, so I don't know, whoever did the valve job probably botched that up. All right, I'm gonna throw this back on here because we hate the flat tires. Oh, shout out to the guys who had this thing before. 31 1050 15s, some big ones. I do believe this thing had 14s from the factory, and they definitely weren't 31 by 1050s. All right, folks, there you have it. You can't win them all. The old 1960 Plymouth Suburban station wagon did not want to play nice. I kind of had a feeling that this one was going to give us some trouble, but you know, you roll the dice and sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Price and availability in the video description. This thing's got to go away. I got too many other projects. You don't have to worry about me announcing Whistle Pig giveaways because that's done. But guess what? We got Flex Fit ball caps in stock. You guys asked for them. Now we got them. Also, we got super scrapers back in stock. We got the SS5S, we got the SS1 and the SS2. We don't have the SS5 standard available right now, but head on over to mortske.com, snag those up as quick as you can. We got a limited number of these hats. We don't get very many super scrapers at a time. We haven't had any since probably the end of December. We haven't had any this year yet. So get over there, get them quick because they go fast, and I don't know, it might be another 6-8 weeks before we get another batch. Head on over to mortske.com, get that stuff. We got flannel shirts, we got sweatshirts. We got pretty depleted on shirts from the old Whistle Pig giveaway, but we got quite a few things in the inventory yet, and we're restocking as well. So we got magnetic screwdrivers and we got magnetic pry bars. No, we don't have magnetic pry bars. Those are out, sorry. Ixnay on the pry bar nay, but we got banners. We don't have beanie caps right now. We're out of a few things, but we got fender covers. Those are there. But anyway, if I were to keep this car and do something with it, I would put floors in it, and I think I would put like an 8 3/4 or an 8.8 or a different rear end, get rid of that clunky rear end, put like a Scarebird disc brake conversion kit up front, and then, what would I put in it? I'd probably put like a 360 Magnum motor in it, and what is it, a 518 overdrive? Late model Hemi'd be cool, an early Hemi'd be cool. The old A-block / poly, slant 6 don't really do it. I think I would do it on the budget. I would find a 360 Magnum out of a Durango or a late model Dodge pickup and overdrive out of the same deal. Get like an aftermarket harness, like a Holly or something like that. Terminator setup. Put that whole son of a gun in there. Put some dual exhaust coming out the back. Put some torque thrust on it, because let's be honest, is there any other wheel? Or maybe some Steelies and some dog dishes. Get that thing nice and low on the ground. Recover the seats and drive the wheels off it. Just leave the outside as it is. Maybe keep an eye open for some better right-hand doors in color, preferably white. But I think it'd be a car worth going from top to bottom and restoring. If you want to see that style of stuff, go check out Cold War Motors. Scott up there, he's working on, what's he working on now? A 59 Buick and a 60 Impala. But he's done a bunch of these Plymouths and Furies and Dodges and stuff. If I was going to do one of these forward look Mopars, it'd have to be a 1959 Dodge. Those things are, 59 was a good year. The Impalas were good, the Dodges were good, the Plymouths were good, the Buicks were really good. I'd like to get a 59 Buick one day, but anyway, I can't keep this thing, so hit us up. Like I said, price availability in the video description. mortskerepair@gmail.com. This thing's got to go down the road. I do have a title for it, so that is a plus. It rolls good. It's pretty dang complete. She's pretty much all there. I really wish we could have done a video with the old push button transmission. Thought that would be cool to get going. But I do have another Poly in the yard, or A-block. It's a 55, so what does that make it? I don't know. Maybe it's a semi-Hemi. But anyway, we'll get to that one of these days. That is a Plymouth as well, 55 Plymouth. It's not a Plaza, it's the next step up. Stay tuned, we'll try to get that one going. But thank you guys for watching, we appreciate it so much. Thank you to everybody who got in on the Whistle Pig. That announcement will be coming out here probably in a couple weeks. We gotta get all the entries, we gotta wait for a while until the mail-in stuff comes in and all that legalities, and check to make sure everybody's, you know, 18 and lives in the United States and all that good stuff. But so again, thank you to all those who entered. Thank you to everybody who's purchased from us ever. Without you guys, we wouldn't be able to drag home stupid crap like Plymouth station wagons that I paid too much for and I'm probably gonna lose money on. But some cool history there. Anyway, all right, on to the next one. Remember, it doesn't matter how you get it done, as long as you're having fun. Somebody thinks it's not so fun when they don't get to go for a ride. Sorry, buddy.